The GP will see you now.
Look, I don't wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant. Hey, I seen it all before I heard chat that they all adore. 1 week looking like they all aboard. Next day, they don't even walk the walk. I've been here since I bust down Aqua, cutting through Asda, all black master. Now I'm too grown for acting gaffer, trying to pay off my Madre's gaff cuz. Took the wife and there's a rotty that's peak. Add the spice to calamari, that's me. My advice off the order I seen. Christ alone, he don't promise you. Don't say that. You know that man don't pay that. Trying to stunt in your rentals. I too wanna cry at a Maybach. I don't wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant. What nonsense? I don't wanna hear about guns, I know you ain't here like the post was sponsored. You ain't never been down junction, you ain't never hit no truncheons, you ain't never hit no blocks in your mouth rub, you ain't never peeled no onions. You don't really look so G to me. Fly wife out for the scenery, go Blue Jays for the eatery. Then I come back where I need to be. A black man who ain't move so easily. One grievance, is the money or God that you're preaching? You ain't talking that poor Lord Cephas. You don't know peace if you don't know Jesus. I live in a place where we all got mashes, no permit, and we all could back it. Even a hermit under his jacket, still that peace couldn't conjure a challenge. No, my man looking like a savage soul. Still we don't know what he has to know. Ain't we men to be saving souls? Not them houses and faking loans. Go tell mom that I'm writing again. I don't wanna hear you were right in the end. Wrote this here for my guys in the ends. Those still stuck in their social housing know that they won't stifle the pen. You ain't gotta fall for them imposters, then nonsense will come to an end. I don't wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant. To the top, what a view. Standing on the rock like I told you, cause they ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man, gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. God told me to wait, work hard, standing in your man. They ain't got no rewards. Never ever go sell your soul, bruv, cause that there worth more than gold, cuz look the little homie in his eyes too. Say the same, but don't look surprised. No time for jokes. Man, I'm here for all kind of smoke. Man, I'm here for all kind of reasons. Which one is this? You won't know. Cause I'm in and out like the seasons. Still gotta give it to Jesus. If you men go to grievance, just know won't move my allegiance. Because I was told to not lose hope, cause that truth's close. If they wanna know how we do it, say God got me, no loophole. Then they wondering why we moving like we don't care what that loop holds. Baby girl, I know the facts, but we won't get into all of that. Just run it back, man. They can never stop what we do. Running in and out with my whole crew, oh. Heading to the top, what a view. Standing on the rock like I told you, cause they ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man, gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. God told me to wait, work hard, standing in your man. They ain't got no rewards. Got no rewards for me, still I live for my Lord's glory. If they ask for my war stories, I will show them it's all on me, man. They will not prevail. My vision's heighten up as well. I see them higher up the scale, but trust me, I am not for sale. Facts, I am not for you, you are not for us. We will not be moved, this and God we trust. We will never lose, this for all of us who got better views. Moving on a month, so ahead of snooze. We will not be rushed, we will not be wooed. That's just not enough, God's approving us from above. But you ain't offered much as a plug. They can never stop what we do. Running in and out with my whole crew, oh. Heading to the top, what a view. Standing on the rock like I told you, cause they ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. Learn this on the way, man, gotta keep the heart pure. They ain't got no rewards. We will never be yours. God told me to wait, work hard, standing in your man. They ain't got no rewards.
Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stands. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds TV, your favorite Sacramento Kings YouTube channel.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Royal family. Glad to have you. This is the Royal Rebounds Podcast. Today we are talking, hopefully I don't lose my voice at some point here, but today we are talking about all things Kings. We're breaking down the game between the Magic. Tonight, we finally have some trade scenarios that don't involve Ben Simmons to talk about, which is exciting. Harrison Barnes is back. And is there a feud going on between Buddy Hield and Solomon Hill? We'll get to it.
Man. We'll be right back. We're here, we're drinking beer, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button. And if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing to the channel. This is your Sacramento Kings nightcap. Well, Kyle, Harrison Barnes is back. Adam Silver was in attendance tonight. And the Sacramento Kings score 142 points. They give up a season high 132, but they handled it against the Orlando Magic. Kings are on a 3-game winning streak. Portland lost tonight. Everything's looking pretty good, huh?
Yeah, if you like defense, then you probably shouldn't have watched this game. But that being said, it was very exciting. The Kings do post a new season high, 142 points, breaking that 140-point mark that they put up against Charlotte, who is their next opponent that we'll talk about later. Man, I'm just glad that the Kings brought their jump shot to Golden One Center tonight, because if they were missing, this could have gone very, very poorly. They did what they had to do. They beat a team that they should beat. They needed to get this game. Doesn't matter if it wasn't perfect, as we're going to talk about. They needed to get this win. 3 in a row, 5 of the last 7. They're on a good little streak here right now.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Harrison Barnes is back. He was in the starting lineup tonight. Terrence Davis was in the starting lineup. You know, looking at this Magic squad, there is a ton of young talent on this team. I was looking at the injury report. You got Michael Carter-Williams. You got Markelle Fultz. You got, who's the tall dude?
Isaac.
Jonathan Isaac. It's crazy how many guys are injured. Jalen Suggs, he's out too. He was a high draft pick in this year's draft. They just have so much young talent on this team. It is a talented team, but the Kings were able to come away with the victory. It's funny, I was making the thumbnail for this, and I'm like, who do I put on for the Magic? Like, I don't even know who their best player is at this point.
Well, we know who it was tonight.
I put Cole Anthony on, and he ended up having a crazy good game. Cal, you want to run us through the box score here?
Yeah. There is so much to talk about here if you want to break down statistics in this game. Get this. There were 14 players tonight that played in today's game on both teams that shot 50% or better from the field. And Harrison Barnes shot 5 of 11. So there was very nearly 15 players in this game that shot 50% or better from the field. Just a crazy, crazy offensive game. De'Aaron Fox leads the way for the Kings, 33 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, a steal and a block apiece. Tyrese Haliburton had himself a game, 18 points, 11 assists, 3 steals, 3 rebounds. Harrison Barnes, 16 points in his first game back. Davion Mitchell was great off the bench, 18 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and Cole Anthony led the way for the Magic with 33 of his own.
We also got to take a look at Franz Wagner, a guy that you are a huge fan of. 2 for 2 from three-point range, 19 big points from him tonight. You know, this Magic team has got a lot, like I said, a lot of young talent. But Kings were able to get away with the victory. All right, I'm looking here at team stats 54% tonight. Field goal range for the Kings, 49 for the Magic. The Magic shot a ridiculous 47% tonight from three-point range. The Kings shot 44, which is also crazy. 84% from the free throw stripe tonight for your Sacramento Kings. Tied on rebounds at 43 apiece. Assists were pretty close as well. Kings only had 8 turnovers in this game. But the numbers that really stand out to me are fast break points. Only 2 for the Magic, 9 for the Kings. The Kings didn't have a single fast break point until the third quarter, which makes me wonder a little bit about this fast-paced offense. But did you talk about Buddy Hield at all?
I didn't mention Buddy Hield, but I'm glad you brought him up. 2 of 13 shooting today, 1 of 10 from 3. It was just another one of those games for Buddy Hield. But Terrence Davis, Buddy Hield 2.0, continues to shoot well from the outside. You can really tell he's gained a ton of confidence, in this past 2 weeks. Whenever Alvin Gentry took over the team, he's been given the starting role. We saw him remain in the starting role, even though Harrison Barnes came back tonight. And he continues to play well. This game, there were no fast break points in the first half because both teams were just walking it down and hitting threes.
Mm-hmm.
There was very little resistance from either side. They
closed the door.
Tonight.
I think it was official. They left the doors closed tonight.
Yes. Yeah, there was no wind blowing in Golden One tonight. So, I'll be straight to the point. I was very disappointed with what I saw from Sacramento defensively. Even in the third quarter when they started to pick it up, they ended up getting a few turnovers, created some fast break points. They started to play a little bit faster. All of that was good, but overall they were not sound defensively at all. They gave up 130 points. I thought they defended the screens, both on-ball screens and off-ball screens, absolutely terribly tonight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This Magic team is not a good three-point shooting team. They're not a good scoring team. They're towards the bottom of the league in scoring. But when you see Cole Anthony come out and hit his first 3-4 threes in a row, it's time to not go under the screen anymore.
Yeah.
And it's time to blitz that screen immediately. You got to get the ball out of his hands. They just did not do that at any point tonight.
Yeah, and isn't it weird that everybody was making shots except for Buddy Hield?
Even Mo Bamba can hit threes now, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know when that happened.
He had a buzzer beater. What was that, the end of the third quarter or something?
At
halftime.
Or
halftime.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really, really crazy. And we saw Rashawn Holmes get hit in the eye again. And I say again because he just seems to get hit in the eye like every game now. It's crazy. Like we talked about
to start wearing goggles.
Yeah, we talked about the Amari Stoudemire situation, what happened with him with the detached retina. This was by far the worst eye injury that I've seen from him.
It was bad.
There was blood everywhere, and it was really sad. But the thing that I want to talk about was, so we saw him leave the court and head into the locker room. They said that he was in concussion protocols, which is kind of weird because I don't know if you all remember what the rule is if you don't shoot the free throws, you're not allowed back in the game.
Yeah.
We saw what happened with Kobe Bryant. Tears his Achilles tendon, stays on the court to shoot the free throws just to have the chance to potentially come back in the game if he's feeling better. Rashawn Holmes is taken totally out of the arena with supposed concussion or in concussion protocols and listed as questionable to return at halftime. He didn't return to the game, but very, very sad. Cal, I want to hear your thoughts.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's very sad to see. He actually did. I saw a tweet of him playing in high school. He had goggles on. So at least we know that he's at one point had to play with that before, so maybe it won't be too much of an adjustment.
Well, he wore glasses.
Phase. He did wear glasses.
He had contacts.
Yep. So hopefully he comes back sooner than later. I will say it's awfully hard to shoot free throws when you have a bunch of blood dripping down into your eye. So I'm not surprised that he didn't stay in to shoot the free throws. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. He's such a force for this team in a lot of different ways. He affects the game in so many different ways. Him and Haliburton have this great chemistry together. But on the bright side of that, Tristan Thompson came in and played big time for them tonight. Alex Len did well as well. We saw him get a bunch of blocks there towards the end of the game, on Robin Lopez and even Mo Bamba. But Tristan Thompson brought what you expect him to bring every time he steps on the court. Energy, offensive rebounds. He was good around the basket. He was efficient. And, I'm going to continue to keep saying it. We need to find a way to get this man minutes. He needs more every single game. Yes. I just don't understand why he doesn't play more.
Yes. I want to give a couple of shout outs here. Sean, the baby daddy, Charlie Boltman, DJ, was that Freshie? Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. Trade everyone, get Fox. I don't know your name still, but you changed your username. It's not Trade Fox for Simmons. Now it's Trade Everyone, ASSP. Get Simmons. Glad you're here. Let us know your name in the chat. Cal, the baby daddy wants to know about Rolo, Robin Lopez, also known as Sideshow Rob. How'd he play tonight?
Great nickname, Sideshow Rob. Well, he played well. I mean, the Magic have a huge front court, and they can play it in so many different combinations. We saw them start Bamba and Wendell Carter Jr. Franz Wagner is also a big man, 6'9", huge, wide shoulders. Yep. This was not a good matchup for the Kings, who like to play small. They come in with Robin Lopez off the bench. They're playing Lopez and Bamba together. They're playing Carter Jr. and Bamba together. Mm-hmm. So they definitely wanted to take advantage of their size and go inside. And, as far as how everybody played, everyone played well in this game tonight, except for Buddy Hield and RJ Hampton. Those are the only guys who didn't shoot well. Everyone
11
else played
points great. For Lopez tonight, 5 of 6 shooting from the field. I just saw him in the paint getting little tip-ins and putbacks and stuff like that. Yep. So,
and in the first half, they were really working a high-low game very, very well. They would have, it was like an old-school NBA offense where you'd have one of your bigs come up around the free throw line. They set that pick out on Cole Anthony to get him a shot. If it wasn't there, he'd dump it into the free throw line, extended area. And from there, Wendell Carter Jr. had like 6 assists in the first half because he kept finding Mo Bamba underneath. Because what would happen is the Kings, who were playing small, they would have to rotate. They'd end up with a smaller guy on Bamba, or whoever the other big was, Wagner or whatever, and they would just dump it off to him for easy looks inside all night.
Yep. Shout out Lane, Jeff, Bryce. Thank you guys all for joining us. Hope you guys had a wonderful night. Lane wants to know if we're going to hit 500. Lane, you're just going to have to stick around, bro, till later in the show, because Calvin and I are going to spend a lot of time talking about the schedule coming up, some of these good-looking games, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. What's up, Michael? Good to have you here as well. So, Cal, we talked about Rashawn Holmes. We talked about Harrison Barnes coming back. Relatively mellow game for Harrison Barnes. I saw a lot that I liked from him tonight. I saw some aggressiveness. I saw some leadership. I saw him kind of doing everything that he normally does. He just didn't score a bunch and didn't shoot a lot, which makes sense when everybody else is making shots, and it's your first game back. I want to talk a little bit about Tyrese Haliburton here because I like talking about Tyrese, and I thought he had an incredible game, 18 points, 5 threes in this game, 11 assists, and only 2 turnovers, which is huge. Yeah. But I do have to say, watching the game, I saw him get called for a travel where he gets the ball at the top and he tries to go to the basket. Yep. I'm guessing that's one of his turnovers for the night. So meaning he didn't turn the ball over a lot passing the ball. But I've seen this in multiple games where he tries to drive to the basket, picks the ball up, and he gets called for it like over and over and over again. When is this guy going to learn? I love everything else that I saw from him tonight. But that's one little itty-bitty thing that I've seen multiple times that kind of bothers me a little bit.
He has an incredibly bad habit of shuffling his feet every time he catches the ball, whether it's to put it on the floor or even to take a shot. Mm-hmm. He, for some reason, he doesn't have the solid foot mechanics. His shot in general is not a picture-perfect shot, but he has to get himself shuffled in. It's almost like he has to take a 1-2 step little hop before he puts up that shot. And I think that habit is carrying over to him trying to put the ball on the floor, but his feet are moving before that happens.
Yeah, just something that he's got to work on. You know, all these guys have lots of things that they need to work on. I think he's only got a few things that he really needs to work on. That's one of them that's a priority for me, because when you're playing well and the team is playing well, stuff like that just kills your momentum.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It didn't affect them too much in this game, but I love everything else I saw from him. The defense is huge, man. 3 steals, 2 blocks in this game. They were praising his defense all night long, and that's something that I've heard from Luke Walton. I heard from Alvin Gentry that year 2 for Haliburton has been a huge improvement on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, he was good last year. I do think that he's improved. One of the things that I would like him to do a little bit less of, and it's hard because he is one of his greatest strengths is his off-ball defense. He's a fantastic anticipator. He reads passing lanes really, really well. But because of that, he has a tendency sometimes to play too much like a free safety. He loses track of his man. A lot of times he does guess right on where the ball is going to go. But he has to be more cognizant of where his man is at all times, because he does lose them every so often, and it results in a either wide open 3 or a guy driving to the basket for an open shot. And again, I say that it's hard to say that because he's so good at anticipating where the ball is going to end up. And most of the time he does guess right. I would just like to see him play a little bit more of a traditional off-ball defense sometimes, rather than completely turning his back to his defender.
I'm so angry that I've missed out on Haliburton jerseys the past 2 seasons. Brand new jersey comes out, size large, which I feel like everybody wears large because that's like the average size, sold out like day one, right away.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to buy one on eBay. Maybe I have to go get the custom jersey that's like $50 more to get it customized to say his name.
Maybe. Or you could wear the one that I got you.
Yeah, that's true. Let's not bring that up. But yeah, that's a bunch of BS. That's all I'm saying. So let's talk about Tyrese and Fox. Amazing game tonight. De'Aaron Fox, 33 points, but it was a quiet 33 points. I didn't think that De'Aaron Fox really took over the game till late in the fourth quarter. We saw a third quarter, a huge run for the Kings. Tyrese Haliburton couldn't miss. He was making all these shots. And then I looked down, I'm like, wow. De'Aaron Fox has got 22 points tonight. Yeah. And then he just goes on this run and takes over the game. Everything that us Kings fans have wanted to see from him. But I think this is probably the best game, not defensively, but just offensively, that we've seen these two guys work together.
Yeah.
So I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, first of all, sorry, I'm just seeing this message here from Lane on the TV. I am recovering from bronchitis. Lane, I missed our last show, so yes, I'm struggling to try to keep my voice for the rest of this
It's a
podcast.
non-COVID related injury.
I did clear the health and safety protocols, so we're all good there. You're right. This was, I think, the best game overall that Tyrese and De'Aaron Fox have played offensively together. That being said, there was very, very little resistance put up in this game. They pretty much got whatever they wanted. They still played, the right style, I think. They were, especially in the second half. Fox was much more aggressive, trying to push the ball into the paint, which is where he really got going. He made a couple of layups early, got to the free throw line consistently, and he hit his free throws. And it helps when you hit your 2 threes that you attempt as well. So I think, nobody's got time for that. So
I wish I had a week off of work, man.
It's been nice. One of the greatest things that came with that is I got to watch a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
So I was really, really happy about that. And I had a lot of time to think. It feels like we haven't done this in so long. I only missed one show, but it just feels like it's been years. So I have all these thoughts running through my head every night when I'm laying in bed, because all I could do was be in bed for a while. But anyway, I'm glad to be back. And yeah, to your point, Fox and Haliburton, they played fantastic offensively. But again, they could get to their spots. They did basically whatever they wanted tonight. The Magic really did not have an answer for them. Cole Anthony was too small to guard De'Aaron Fox, not quick enough. He just got him into the paint and brushed him off every time. Haliburton was consistently left wide open. I mean, he took advantage of those opportunities, but they just let him shoot from wherever he wanted. You know, even at the end there when he snuck away after the Magic were on the free throw line, they completely lose track of him. He's wide open in the corner. So he probably felt like, you know, man, this is great. No, nobody's contesting my shots. I can just get them up whenever I want to.
Yep. Hey, Fred, we're going to talk about trades here in the second part of the show. Right now, we're just kind of breaking down what happened in this game. Hopefully, you can stay with us. If not, we pull the 3 different sections out of the show, and we'll repost them as YouTube videos. But just hang around, man. We got a lot of fun things, a lot of crazy fun things to talk about. All right, so I'm seeing some people here in the chat. They want to talk about Marvin Bagley, 19 minutes from him. We're going to talk about him in the next section as well. But as far as his performance tonight, 50% from the field, 50% from three-point range, 6 rebounds, 1 steal, 12 points. Another great game from Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, he's just continuing to take advantage of the opportunity that he's been given, and Gentry has given him a much needed opportunity here. He's gotten more comfortable. You know, he's been able to shake that rust off, and give him a lot of credit. He's crashing the offensive boards super hard. I think that is the main thing that's getting him going offensively. But on a larger scale here, this is again about the Kings bench, which is, in my opinion, the greatest strength of this team. It has been all year long. You know, even without Buddy Hield doing anything basically tonight, you still get Davion Mitchell, who scores 18 points. You get Marvin Bagley, who comes off the bench and produces. Tristan Thompson has 14 points. Again, the Kings bench dominated the Orlando bench, and that was overall the difference in this game because, you know, this was a close game for most of it. It was only 3-point lead at halftime, and I think the Kings having that second wave be able to come in and produce offensively the way that they did ended up being the difference in this game.
Yeah, and the Kings actually have the 3rd best producing bench in the NBA. So it goes to show. And it's weird because Buddy Hield has been in such a slump. I don't really know why. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But back on the subject of Marvin Bagley, I want to ask you what the difference is in this guy. And everyone's going to say, well, minutes. He's getting minutes now. He's playing now. But it just seems like he's engaged. It seems like he's a new guy. It seems like the Kings have been like, wow, Marvin, you're part of the team now. Because for a while, I don't know if it was a situation between him and Luke. We heard about the problems Dave Yeager had with Marvin, and maybe it wasn't exactly Marvin. It was management's decision to choose Marvin and tell him to play him. But Luke was actually given the freedom to not play Marvin. It didn't work out so well for Luke Walton.
Yeah.
But Marvin's getting minutes now, and he's playing really well. And it makes me feel good because I was pretty critical of Marvin Bagley. I didn't like the stuff I saw from his dad and all that other drama that happened. I felt like he should have had some time. He should have got some minutes to be out there on the court. But I trusted Luke. I felt like, well, there's a reason this guy's not playing. We started out pretty hot, and then we fell apart. But I'm just so happy what I've seen from him. What's the main difference that you've seen?
Well, definitely playing time, you know, is a huge factor in that. But I really think it's got to be getting a vote of confidence from the coaching staff. You know, whether Luke Walton can come out in press conferences and say he likes Marvin Bagley, he believes in him, he wants him to be a part of this team, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're not part of the rotation, how do you believe that your coach has confidence in you? You know, when I was a senior in high school, I started out the year as a starter, and I didn't always believe that my head coach had a lot of confidence in me. He would have a really short leash on me. He would pull me really quickly in games oftentimes, and eventually I ended up on the bench. One of our assistant coaches had a lot of confidence in me, and he kept telling me to stick with it. You know, just go out and play. Do what you do best, all of that stuff.
Shut up and dribble.
Shut up and dribble. And as I started to hear that from him more often, I started to play better and better and better and better. And eventually I got myself back into the starting lineup and finished the year as an all-league member. So, coaching confidence from your coaching staff, I think, goes a really, really long way. And I think that it's very much helping Marvin Bagley right now.
Yeah, we saw Alex Len play again tonight, 17 minutes. I liked what I saw from him in the limited time, but this dude just keeps getting in foul trouble, man. What is going on here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough when you go against a team that's this big, right? And you're constantly having to switch and maneuver around and be the rim protector in the middle of the paint. And then, there's always the old adage of, you're a big body, you've got 6 fouls, why not use them?
Yep.
So I still like his aggressiveness defensively. He had 4 fouls tonight, so it's not like he was on the verge of fouling out. It would have cost them a little bit more not having Richaun Holmes available to come back. Mm-hmm. But I'm certainly not disappointed with how Len was playing defensively.
I mean, only 17 minutes from him tonight. And that's with Holmes coming out early in the game, which is surprising. But Tristan Thompson,
yeah, exactly,
played really, really well.
Exactly. And having, Marvin Bagley be reasserted into the lineup and be able to play more minutes as well, that's another big body.
Yep.
We didn't see Metu in this game at all. Mm-hmm. Didn't see Harkless. I know that he's still not 100% healthy and back ready to play. So as long as the Kings have this advantage of having a deep, deep bench. Mm-hmm. And so they can get away with playing guys 13 to 17 minutes and still have them be effective because there is the next man up mentality, and they've been taking advantage of that.
Charlie has a good point here in the chat. He says, I don't know if it's a secret, but Gentry doesn't like Buddy. He was in the doghouse in New Orleans and took some shots at Gentry after he was traded to the Kings in that Cousins deal. That's very, very relevant. I mean,
it's hard to argue with that right now.
He was a rookie at the time.
Yeah.
Played half the season. Yeah. So how much confidence does your coach really have in you at that point?
Yeah.
We're not really sure. But
look,
I get it.
When you're 1 for 7 from 3 and you bring the ball down court and you throw up a shot from the logo to try to get yourself back into it, that's not how you work yourself into the game offensively. It's a horrible, horrible shot. I mean, even Steph Curry, if he's 1 for 7 from 3 at that time and he takes a shot like that, most people probably aren't going to think anything of it. Mm-hmm. But the coaching staff might be like, hey, man, come on, let's run some offense. Let's get you going off of a screen. Let's get you a better shot than that. And Buddy Hield just repeatedly does these things over and over and over again.
Speaking of Steph Curry, I got to see how many threes he made tonight. As you guys know, he was 16 away from the record. Come on, Steph. How many threes did you make tonight?
Most threes all time in NBA history. Any player. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Come on, tell me how many threes he shot tonight. 35%.
Ray Allen currently holds the record. Allen retired
2014,
something like that. So, yeah.
Hold on, I'm looking it up here. You want to talk about Davion?
Yeah, I loved what I saw from Davion tonight. And this just furthers my point that we were talking about, a couple of weeks ago when he was still struggling shooting, in that this guy is a very, very talented player. His shot mechanics are great. He's really, really good with the ball in his hands, great at creating space, creating his own shot. I saw somebody in the chat said Davion doesn't pass the ball. Not exactly true. I mean, he did have 4 assists tonight. And when you're shooting that well, most teams are going to say, keep shooting. So I think it's only a matter of time, like we've seen, that he's going to start to figure things out. He's going to shoot better. This is exactly what he did in college. He didn't shoot well at first, but he got better and better and better and better as he got more experience. And when you have a guy that is that good defensively, you need to make time for him on the court no matter what, even if he's struggling offensively. So I was really, really pleased with how Davion played tonight. It's a little bit of a catch-22 because, like we said, there was no defense played in this game. You could kind of get whatever you wanted. But this is just another building block for him to feel more comfortable shooting the ball. And if Buddy Hield is going to really struggle, you need somebody to come off the bench and score for you. Yep. And he did that tonight. 4
assists, 0 turnovers. I mean, he seems to be passing the ball a little bit. And when you're making shots, 18 points, that's great. Shout out, Jeremiah. I'm glad you love the NBA Jam tee. Calvin and I actually have a NBA Jam arcade, and we've been playing a ton of NBA Jam and some hang time. We got our own characters created. Calvin's got all the records. I'm just there for fun.
Not all the records anymore. The game has you ranked as the #1 overall player now.
I'm working my way back. It's a slow process. If I were you and I had the whole week off, I would have just been playing that thing the whole time. You could have padded some stats.
I was in bed a little bit too much, but...
All right, anything else you want to talk about the game here? I got one more mention in my notes here.
Give it to me.
Third quarter, I saw some fire coming from Tyrese Haliburton. He was making some threes. I'm surprised he didn't get
teed up, actually.
He was making some threes. He got fouled. They didn't call it, and he let the ref know it. You saw the coaching staff grabbing him and holding him back. Yeah. I love to see that, man. I love it. That's what I've been telling you. The Kings need this. That's why I want a guy like Marcus Smart. That's why I want one of these guys. And to see Tyrese Haliburton getting angry and wanting these victories, and this is when the Kings are up 12.
Yeah.
So I love to see it. I hope they encourage that even more, because when you have guys playing with passion, it's a lot harder to lose basketball games.
Yeah, you do need to see that competitive fire from you'd like to see it from all these guys. Saw it from Tristan Thompson tonight as well, after he gets that big alley-oop dunk and gets teed up for getting in Wendell Carter, I believe it was, face.
Oh, he was yelling at the bench.
Oh, well, he was definitely yelling at Wendell Carter, too.
And then I saw a mother F.
Yeah. That usually does it. But in that moment, I agree. I liked to see that.
When I was younger, my mom, she was like trying to teach me about bad words and stuff like that. And she's like, I'm not mad if you use a bad word as long as you don't direct it towards somebody. But he was directing it towards some people, so I get it.
He was definitely calling some people out, yeah.
I get it. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will dive deeper into your Kings with a new segment called Around the Crown. Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the Royal family by hitting that subscribe button. And while you're down there, smash up that like button. So, Cal, I got a bunch of things I want to talk about today. First one, Thaddeus Young. He's unhappy with the Spurs. He said he's in a very tough position. Obviously, the guy's later on in his career. Maybe he's trying to chase a ring, get a buyout, stuff like that. But it just leads me to think, well, can he help the Kings at all?
Yeah, I think he could. There are some other players that have recently become available that we're going to get to, who I would much rather see the Kings go after than Thaddeus Young. But this guy is a proven vet. He does a lot of things well. He's a good passer for a guy his size, can score inside. Used to be a very, very good defender. Now he's a little bit older, but he still is a very serviceable guy defensively. I'm just going to leave it at that because, like I said, I think there are some other people that have recently become available that I would much rather have.
All right, and we'll talk about them in a second. Next topic of news, Kings news. I guess kind of Kings news. Tyreke Evans applies for reinstatement from the NBA. He last played in the 2018-2019 season with the Pacers. Failed a drug test. Performance-enhancing drugs was suspended indefinitely, had some great seasons with the Kings, got traded back in the Boogie Cousins deal, was playing well. I thought the Kings should have held on to him at that end of that offseason. He ends up going on to the Memphis Grizzlies, played pretty well for them. 19 points a game for them. Wow. He played really well for them. How are you feeling?
He was always a good scorer.
How are you feeling about Tyreke Evans? Do you think he has a chance on any of these teams in the NBA? Will he get reinstated? Should the Kings make a move? What do you feel?
I would like to see him get another shot. I don't know if he's going to get reinstated. How old is Tyreke Evans now? Do you know?
Let me take a look here. Also want to give a shout out to Tanvir.
Yeah, sorry. Tanvir, I saw you in the comments there, buddy. We're feeling great. How are you? Kings win.
Is 32.
32. So, that's getting on the edge there, especially for a guard. But I would love to see Tyreke get another shot. Should the Kings go after him? No. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. They're already extremely guard heavy, unless you're going to, make some trades to clear up a space for him. But he hasn't played in so long. I would be a little nervous of that. Mm-hmm. As just a general fan of the Kings and all that, I would love to see Tyreke get another shot. I hope he does well. I hope he at least gets reinstated, because that's the biggest hurdle that he's got to overcome right now. So,
yeah, the Kings need some wings. So, I would be happy to have Tyreke back, but I think he'll probably latch on to a contender, and maybe he'll go back to Indiana. Who knows? And that brings me to the next topic, the Indiana Pacers.
Here we go.
Apparently, according to reports, the Pacers are ready to give up on the season. They're talking about trading potentially Sabonis, Miles Turner, Caris LeVert. I saw you put out a tweet about this situation.
I did.
It's no surprise to me. I know you love Caris LeVert ever since he's been in the NBA, and probably before that.
Well before that.
But how do you feel about this? Is this a move that the Kings need to make, as in abandoning the season and saying, hey, we're going to be a middle-of-the-road team and we need to start from scratch and rebuild, because these are some pretty good players? Or should the Kings make a move for one of these guys and try and make that coveted playoff spot?
I think the Kings should jump all over this, because I said it in the tweet. It would be an improvement and great to get any. You're reading that Tyreke comment.
Yeah.
It would be a great opportunity for them to get any of these three players. Sabonis is an all-star. He's young. He fits a positional need that the Kings currently need. Miles Turner, I think, would be a phenomenal fit with this team. Mm-hmm. And I even am intrigued by Caris LeVert, because for a lot of reasons. As I said in that tweet, I think he could play alongside Fox or Haliburton. He gives them an upgrade in a small lineup, being a big, long defender. He's a very, very capable scorer. They could continue to play this fast-paced, smaller lineup with him as well, and I think it would be an improvement, an upgrade. But I'm going to say it right now. Everybody wants Sabonis, and there is a lot of good reason to that. As I mentioned, he's an all-star. He's young. He's a very, very dominating interior player. That last sentence is the reason why I want Miles Turner the most out of all three of these players. Sabonis might be the better player long-term than Miles Turner, but I think Turner fits this team perfectly. He's a stretch big man now. The guy is shooting almost 40% from three on nearly 5 attempts a game. The last 2 years in the league, last year he averaged 3.4 blocks a game. This year he's right around 2.5. So he's a dominating interior rim protector. You could have him play the bigger player, the bigger inside player, and have Rashawn Holmes not have to go up and bang against guys like Jokic and Embiid and all these players on a consistent basis. Holmes could still play inside. You still have that lob game. Turner can stretch the floor, rebound, block shots. He can get out and run as well. I think it's a perfect fit.
The strange thing is all three of these guys pretty much make the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's like $1 million difference in between all three of them. I put a poll in the chat, so I want to hear from you guys who you'd rather have on the Kings. Sabonis, Turner, LeVert. Both of them are locked up, or actually all three of them are locked up through next season. Sabonis has an additional year after that. Turner and Sabonis are both 25. LeVert is 27. A lot of potential in those three guys.
This is a real opportunity for the Kings. I mean, as we mentioned, any of these three players, I think, depending on what you have to give up for them, and that's the key. A lot of people are assuming that it's a fire sale in Indiana. They're maybe trying to collect draft picks, which the Kings have. So you're not going to have to give up, somebody like a Haliburton or a Fox in any of these deals. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, that's fantastic, because any of these guys, I think, improves the team currently.
Charlie, I see you here in the chat. Oh, you just reminded me. I forgot to set my basketball fantasy team today. Damn it. He says all of them are losers. What do you call the players on the Kings then? If that's your thinking. Someone wants to know, what would you give up for those guys, Cal?
Anthony Davis was a loser for a long time too, until he went to a team that was really good and they won a championship.
What are you going to give up for those guys, Cal?
Well, I'm hoping to get away with something like Buddy Hield, maybe Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley, or, but I'm going to try to push Buddy Hield no matter what.
Yeah.
Him and some other combination that doesn't include Haliburton, Mitchell, Fox. I'm going to try to get away with the deal that's going to be the best for me. And if this really is we're dumping everything, we're just blowing it up, we're imploding from Indiana's side, then maybe you can get away with something like that.
I feel like Marvin Bagley would be the key to one of these deals. He only makes $11 million, so you'd have to throw in, maybe a Mo Harkless, maybe a Terrence Davis, and a first-round pick to make the salary work. But, from Indiana's perspective, if they're blowing it up and moving on, there's only two things that they're going to want. You're going to want draft picks and young talent.
Yeah.
And I don't think this Kings team is ready to give up any of this young talent. So that to me says draft picks, other than Marvin Bagley. He's 22. He's playing much better now. I have to say that his trade value now versus 2 weeks ago is a lot higher. A lot higher.
Yeah.
So I think something like that, if you do have to give up a guy like Davion or Tyrese, I don't think I'm in the deal. I really don't. But, you talk about that crowded guard spot. You got to figure out what you're going to do. Is Fox your guy? Is Tyrese your guy? Is Davion your guy? That's a very, very tough decision that the Kings are going to have to make. All right, moving on here. Let's talk about Dame Lillard. Rough start to the season for Dame. He's still out right now with an abdominal issue. CJ McCollum's out now with a collapsed lung.
Yeah,
that is crazy. They lost tonight, putting them below the Kings in the standings because the Kings have the tiebreaker, which makes me feel pretty good.
Yep.
Dame Lillard has said, I'm not requesting a trade. How many times do I have to say this? And people keep talking about it.
Yeah.
Is Dame Lillard available? Should the Kings make a move for Dame Lillard? What are you giving up?
Wow. Well, man, and if Dame Lillard is available or not, the caliber of player that he is, you always want on your team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he would be a tremendous, tremendous upgrade, and he's somebody that I would be okay with a trade involving De'Aaron Fox for. I honestly would. There is Vinny, I have this on my screen if you can put it up for me. There is an ESPN article that talked about potential trades, landing spots for Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
What you see on the screen now is a deal involving the Sacramento Kings. It's a huge deal, 4 teams, and the Kings are going to get rid of a lot of people. I find this deal incredibly interesting because this puts De'Aaron Fox and Damian Lillard on the same team.
Wow.
Portland gets Tyrese Haliburton, Davion Mitchell, Marvin Bagley, Tristan Thompson, and a first-rounder from Sacramento. Minnesota gets Buddy Hield and Cody Zeller. The Kings get Dame Lillard, Patrick Beverley, Tony Snell, and Jaden McDaniels, as well as a second-round pick. And then Oklahoma City comes in and cleans up salary fillers and gets a trade, or gets a draft pick, a couple draft picks. So, man, this deal's really, really interesting. I don't necessarily like, giving up all of that. However, you give up Davion Mitchell, you get a guy like Patrick Beverley in return. Mm-hmm. Not saying that they're the same player, but they are similar styles of players. They're very aggressive defensive guards. Mm-hmm. You get to keep De'Aaron Fox, and you have Damian Lillard. I don't know what that would look like together, honestly. Personally, I'd probably rather pair Haliburton and Lillard together. Mm-hmm. But we've seen Damian Lillard work pretty well with another ball-dependent scoring guard in CJ McCollum. I'm not saying that it would be the same thing with him and Fox, but at least you know that there's some history of that to go off of. This is interesting. I'm interested to hear your take on it.
Well, first of all, I have to say Damian Lillard is the best player in this trade.
Oh, easily.
By far. And when you're going to trade for a player of his caliber, you're going to have to give up a lot.
Without a doubt.
I like Davion a lot. I like Tyrese a lot. I don't want to give up those guys. I'm not going to do this trade if I'm the Kings. However, I do have to say Damian Lillard is worth all these guys. He really is. As much as I like Fox, I don't know if giving up that much of your salary cap to a guy like Fox and a guy like Damian Lillard, I feel like you're going to be stuck in a similar position.
Yeah, you're financially handicapped.
The Blazers are in. Yeah. And that's not a bad situation. They went to the Western Conference Finals. They had
playoffs
a lot.
8 years in a row.
They had a lot of success on that team. But I think I agree with you. I'm going to try and move on from Fox, as much as I hate to say that, and try and bring in Damian Lillard to play with Tyrese Haliburton and Davion Mitchell, if possible. I will give up multiple
few number of guys in the league that you would look at and say, yeah, I'll trade De'Aaron Fox for that guy, in my opinion. And this is easily one of them. So.
And I'll give up multiple draft picks. I don't need to give up just one. I'll give up multiple draft picks to get a guy like that if I can. But De'Aaron Fox and a draft pick or two, I think is worth it for the Kings, and I would do that deal. All right, moving on here. Let's talk about Solomon Hill. I got this thing on my phone, so let me pull it up here. There is some drama going down.
Sass, I'm interested to hear why you think they didn't work. I mean, just because they didn't win a championship together? These guys have put up, he's talking about Lillard and McCollum not working together.
Yeah.
They've put up huge, huge numbers every year for the past 8 years. They made the playoffs 8 years in a row, went to a Western Conference final.
You can't satisfy everybody, Calvin. You said Anthony Davis, and somebody said he's still a loser, and he's got an NBA ring, so whatever that means. All right, so back to this thing. Solomon Hill, as you guys know, I think he has a hamstring injury. He's out for the rest of the season, so it's got to be pretty serious. Buddy Hield. This is on Instagram, or is this? Yeah. Speedy recovery, big bro. That's what he responds. I think that's a pretty nice, that's what most NBA players say.
Certainly doesn't.
They say we want
like
you.
There's anything?
We want you to get healthy
in there.
Solomon Hill writes back, "Same for you, bro. You still wearing a Kings jersey?"
Those are some shots fired right there.
I don't know if that's shots at Buddy Hield or shots at the Kings. Sounds like a shot at the Kings to me. But as you remember, Buddy Hield and Solomon Hill both played together on the Pelicans during Buddy's rookie year. So maybe Solomon knows a little bit about this Gentry-Hield beef, and maybe that's why. But I want to hear from you guys, how you guys feel about that, because it's pretty crazy. We don't really see players calling out other teams like that. I don't know if Solomon Hill's on too many drugs for his his hamstring injury, but lay off, man. Lay off.
Yeah. Solomon better hope that Buddy Hield doesn't get traded to the Hawks.
Oh, man, that's funny. All right, next subject I want to talk about here. And I want to preface this by saying that we don't like to spread rumors. We don't like to spread drama, all this stuff. This is just something that as I was watching the game tonight, I was a little curious about. And that was Katie Christensen. I'm watching the game, and it says, commentator, Katie Christensen. And I'm like, that's weird, because I always knew her as Katie Christensen, but then she was Katie Hunter, Katie Christensen Hunter, and now it's just Katie Christensen.
Uh-huh.
So I end up going down this wormhole on Reddit. I'm not going to say exactly what I learned or the rumors that I heard or all that stuff, but if you guys are curious, go take a look, because there's some pretty hilarious stuff going on there. But I didn't see her with a ring tonight. It's Hunter, or Hunter's gone. I don't know. What do you feel about this, Calvin?
Well, I know nothing actually about what you're talking about. I did not go down the Reddit rabbit hole with you. I try to not pay attention to the commentators' personal lives too much.
And I love Katie. I'm so happy she's with the Kings.
Yeah, I think she does a good job.
And Dennis, I still can't answer your question. I don't know. But do some research and get back to us, because I don't know if it matters, but I like Katie. I want her to remain with the Kings. I was just curious. I'm like, what is going on here? Why does she keep changing her name?
Yeah.
Katie Hunter, Katie Christensen Hunter, Katie Christensen. I just want to know. I'm just going to start calling her Katie.
That works for me.
Yeah, she's just going to be Katie from now on.
And to get back to the trades real quick, Sass, I'm just seeing your comments in here, and I totally agree with you. I think Sabonis or Turner is a way better fit for this team right now than Damian Lillard would be in this moment. You know,
Yep.
I'm just saying it's hard to ignore. And do I think that 4-team trade is going to happen? No, I don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think Damian Lillard's going to get traded. I personally do not. But he's one of those guys that if I hear there's even an ounce of rumors that he's available, I'm going to be calling Portland for sure.
Yeah. You got to do your due diligence. And, you know, when I was coming back from Thanksgiving, I watched Space Jam 2 again on the flight. It's actually a pretty good movie. Dame's in the movie. Dame time. He was the ultimate boss, or as you would say, that you have to beat. And I'd be happy if he was on the Kings. But it's all about how much you give up. There's a lot of guys in the league that I'd say I'm happy to have them on the Kings. It depends on how much you give up. All right, moving on here. This is a quick story. It's a kind of a feel-good story as a Kings fan. There's some drama in Dallas. Luka Doncic weighed in at training camp at 260 pounds. This is over 30 pounds over his playing weight. I saw him in the game last night. He did look a little chubby in the cheeks. I know everyone had talked about Zion and all this. They asked him, the TNT crew asked him after the game, and he said he took a couple weeks off. Maybe he took off too much time. But Cal, do you gain 30-something pounds in a couple weeks? I know you and I are pretty skinny guys, and it's hard for us to gain a lot of weight. But it makes me feel good as a Kings fan to talk about this. So I want to talk about it a little bit.
Well, yeah, it's really intriguing, too, because we're talking about a guy who played well into the summer. He was playing in the Olympics.
Yeah.
They went deep in the Olympics. So I'm not quite sure how you get that out of shape that quickly. But as you mentioned, I don't know what it's like to be 6'9" or whatever he is, 6'8", and be that size.
Yep.
So it can probably go south for you pretty quickly if you aren't doing the right things. And who knows how accurate that is. You know, I saw a report also this week that said Zion weighs 330 pounds now. I mean, who knows exactly what the deal is. But I do think that Luka has been hurt a lot this year. So I don't know if it's him being out of shape or it's just that he played a ton of basketball over the past couple of years and it's finally starting to catch up to him. But he hasn't really looked, like Luka necessarily. We've seen it in flashes.
Yep.
But he's got an ankle issue that he's dealing with. I think he has a
Your
hand
ankles
or a
don't
wrist.
like that extra weight.
Yeah, that's true. But at the end of the day, I mean, he did just have like 30-something points against Brooklyn yesterday. So, He doesn't seem to be affected.
He's the guy at the gym that nobody picks him to be on your team because you're like, this guy doesn't look like if you take the height out of it, this guy doesn't look like a basketball player. And then all of a sudden he drops like 40 on you, and it's crazy. He's such a good player, man. He really is. He played 19 games this season, 25.5 a game, which is just about his career average. He's right there in field goal percentage. Not really a drop-off for him. A little bit more assists this year. But I guess it just makes me feel a little good as a Kings fan that we pass on this guy and he's having some issues, whatever the hell that might be. Is it Gazer Beam 2K? Yes, I admit Dave Yeager was the Buddy Whisperer. I think Buddy played great under him, but Buddy's so streaky, man. He's played great under a lot of people, and he's played bad under a lot of people. It's pretty clear that Alvin Gentry and Buddy Hield do not mix, though. That is very clear. And I think he'll end up getting traded. Moving on here to trades. There's 3 dates that us Kings fans need to remember here. December 14th is the day that Mo Harkless and Alex Len are available to be traded. January 14th, Rashawn Holmes and Terrence Davis become available to be traded. And then February 10th, we all know, is the NBA trade deadline. Other than those 4 guys, every single player on the Kings roster right now is pretty much open for business. Teams could be making calls. I know the Kings are on a 3-game winning streak right now, which I guess makes Monty and company a little less inclined to make a drastic deal or hit the panic button, stuff like that. But, Kyle, I just want to hear your overall thoughts on how the Kings are approaching this trade deadline, whether you think we'll see a trade in the next month or so, or if you think it's going to go right up until that February 10th deadline.
Well, I don't know. That's a really hard thing to predict, but I do think that this is an important time for Monty McNair because, we've talked about these Indiana Pacers players being available. I think that a deal involving one of those guys, especially if it's Miles Turner or Sabonis, would be really, really beneficial to this team. And if, what we have heard from Monty over the past weeks and months is that they're not totally ready to give up on this team yet. They still think that there's some potential for them to make a playoff run this year. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's the case, then you probably need to get out there and make a deal. Because, yes, the Kings are playing better right now. They've won 5 of their last 7. Alvin Gentry, I think, has done some good things for them and good things for individual guys like Terrence Davis and Marvin Bagley. But this team is still missing some things.
Yep.
And if they want to be a playoff team, there's an opportunity out there for them to get some of those things back. So I do think that some deal is a good idea and in some cases necessary for this team to continue to improve. I'm just not so sure if we'll end up seeing it, and because there's a lot of other factors that come into play. Ben Simmons is still out there. I know everybody in this chat really, really wants Ben Simmons. So there's a lot of
we talked about the things we're worried about with him, and not playing this long, stuff like that. Ramon says, I think to have a chance to make the playoffs, you have to make moves now.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that.
So, the Kings are 11-14 right now. They're on a 3-game winning streak. They need one more 3-game winning streak to be 500.
Yeah.
But I think with the play of guys like Terrence Davis makes Buddy Hield a little bit more expendable. If you're able to move a guy like Buddy Hield, Charlie says here in the chat, I'm pretty sure Buddy is gone, even if the return isn't great. If you're able to move this guy, maybe you don't need equal value because the Kings have so many guards on this team. They have a lot of guys that can play offense. Maybe if you get a guy that's maybe a lesser guy, but he's a better wing, maybe he plays better defense, something like that could help propel this team a little bit further than another Buddy Chuckets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are there any moves that you would like the Kings to make involving Buddy Hield? I'm going to throw a name out there.
I'm beating a dead horse, but I'm really in on this Indiana potential.
Okay.
I think if you could somehow get away with bringing back either Sabonis or Miles Turner, for me, I would rather have Turner, just because of the way I think he fits in with this team. But if you could get one of those guys for Buddy Hield and somebody else, that's a home run for the Kings, an absolute home run. But who is this other player?
I mean, you know how big of a fan I am of Lou Dort. I love Lou Dort, man. If I could give up Buddy Hield in a pick for Lou Dort, sign me up. I know Buddy Hield makes more money than Lou does, but when you're the Thunder, you need to fill your salary cap. I don't think they're even close to the cap right now, so they could absorb.
They can't be.
They could absorb a guy like Buddy Hield's contract, and they're not looking for guys to compete right now. They're looking for draft picks. If I'm the Sacramento Kings and I say, hey, I'll give you a top 3 protected pick this season or top 5 protected pick and Buddy Hield for Lou Dort, let's do it. I'd be open to something like that for sure. I love the defense that guy plays, man. I really do. And, now that we're on the subject, the Thunder beat the Raptors tonight. 22 points for Lou Dort, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, some stellar defense by him. Rockets beat the Nets too tonight, which is pretty crazy. These teams are not trying to win games. They're pretty out there like, oh, we're not trying to compete right now, and somehow they're winning games. It's funny. I look at the standings here. The Kings are 10th spot right now at 11-14. Timberwolves are 9th spot at 11-14. But you look down towards the bottom. The Thunder, they won. The Rockets, they won. Blazers aren't healthy. Spurs, they're not really sure what they're doing. But we got to string some more wins. The
Western Conference, outside of the top 3 teams, Utah, Golden State, and Phoenix, it is a scrambled mess there, especially from seeds 5 to 11. So there's going to be a lot of changing in these standings here from now until the end of the season.
Dennis says this Reddit thread is insane.
I might have to check it out, I guess.
It's pretty wild. Hey, I'm not spreading any rumors. I don't want you guys to start a Reddit thread on me or anything like that. I'm just, as a concerned Kings fan, I'm just letting you know what I found very, very interesting. Ramon says, I'd say Christian Wood would be a better fit than Sabonis, but I feel like Monty isn't aggressive enough as a GM to make that happen.
Well, we'll find out. I mean, that was my point about this is a really important moment for Monty McNair and his tenure as GM of the Kings, because I feel like he should make some type of move right now. The question is, what is it going to be? Yep. And I agree with that completely. Christian Wood is a better fit for this team than Sabonis. Mm-hmm. Sabonis is a great, great player, but he's a very, very interior dominant player. And him and Rashawn Holmes alongside each other, I'm just not so sure how that looks on this team, especially when you've got a guy like De'Aaron Fox, who his best ability is to break down his defender and get into the lane. You don't want the lane to be more clogged with 2 guys that play inside.
Yep. All right, we got the poll completed. It's hilarious. 14 votes, 35% Sabonis, 35% Miles Turner, and 28% Caris LeVert. So, Cal, you're losing right now with your LeVert move. But, guys, we need wings, man.
Well,
we need
LeVert
wings.
was just an interest. I'd be happy to have Caris LeVert.
Yep.
But I don't think that's what improves the team the most.
Yep.
I just think if you somehow can't put a deal together for either one of those other guys, considering the way that the Kings are playing right now, Caris LeVert makes that style of team better.
Yep.
He does.
There's one more name I want to throw out here, Deandre Ayton. Doesn't seem like he could potentially be available. Former number 1 overall pick. He's playing great. He was just in the finals last year, but he hasn't been able to work out a contract extension with the Suns. We know they're paying Booker a bunch of money. We know they're paying Chris Paul a bunch of money. They have a lot of other young pieces that are going to need to be paid here pretty soon. But the thing that really stuck out to me, other than the guy's play and all that, is they interviewed him and they asked him about the contract extension. And this is his response. He says, quote, It didn't work out, and I got it out of my mind right away. What I can do to make it rub in everyone's faces is to bust my ass, work hard, and win games with the Suns. At the end of the day, it's all about winning. If you want to get something and earn something in this league, you have to be a winner. Do something that leads to winning. Me putting my head down and working is just closing out all of the noise. I'm not really worried about all that. You had the time to do the negotiations. You had a deadline, and it didn't work out. Boom, bada bing. You still got to work. You still got to play in between the lines. Still got to make sure this dude don't dunk on me, score on me, or do something to win the game. Still got to do that. And that's just my competitive spirit. How often do you hear a guy, a number one overall pick guy? These guys are usually divas or guys that have really big personalities and very big egos, talking about why he didn't get paid and saying, I need to put my head down and work harder. Sounds like Chris Paul's in this guy's head telling him what to say, which could very well be true. But this is the attitude the Kings need.
Yeah, definitely. I've been a big Deandre Ayton fan since he was at Arizona. I remember in that draft, I told you I would take Deandre Ayton number 1, and you wanted Doncic to go number 1. And in hindsight, it's hard to say if both guys are obviously really, really good players and are going to be really good players for a long, long time. But this is exactly the right attitude to have. Mm-hmm. And it helps when you're a young player and you get onto a team that all of a sudden becomes really, really good. Yeah. And you get a taste of what the NBA Finals is like. Yep. And you realize that, money is important, but I also don't want to end up on a shit team. So I think he's playing his cards really, really well right now, and he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. He's saying, I'm going to get paid at some point. I know that. Right now, all I need to focus on is becoming a better player than I was last year and helping this team get back to the finals and try to win the whole thing. That's the epitome of what being a competitor is.
Would you make a move for this guy, and what are you willing to give up?
I would love to have Deandre Ayton on my team. Absolutely love it. What would I give up? I'd love to see him and Fox together or him and Haliburton together. You think Rashawn Holmes and Tyrese Haliburton are pretty good throwing lobs to each other. How about Deandre Ayton? Yep. That would be something to watch. So, I'd try to give up everybody but those two for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we will take a look at the Kings' next game in week of basketball with a new segment called Kings Crusade. Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV, your favorite Sacramento Kings YouTube channel. The Kings continue their crusade to get back to the playoffs. Next up is the Charlotte Hornets. If you're a Kings fan, hit that like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel. So, Calvin, Friday's game is a big game for the Kings. Potential 4-game winning streak. Charlotte has been struck with a COVID bug.
Yeah,
4 players are currently in COVID protocols. Ball, Rozier, Plumlee, McDaniels, potentially all out for a week or so. What are you feeling about this game?
Well, very, very good opportunity here for the Kings. We already saw them really take the Hornets to the woodshed. They put up 140 on them at Golden One Center the last time they played. And, the Hornets are an up-and-down team that scores a ton of points. Mm-hmm. They also give up even more points. They're dead last in the league in points allowed. They're dead last in assists allowed per game. Mm-hmm. So this is, again, a very winnable game for Sacramento. However, this is a team that still needs to be taken with caution. Everybody's going to say, they got all these guys out, Ball's out, Rozier's out. Kings should dominate and win this game. Mm-hmm. And that might be true to a certain extent because we saw them dominate them with those guys in the lineup last time. However, The Hornets are a much improved team from last year, even though they don't play any defense. They're much, much better than they were last year. And it's because they still have guys who are going to play in this game named Miles Bridges. Kelly Oubre has gone on an absolute tear since all these guys have been out.
Gordon
Hayward had 31 points tonight, I think. They've been getting really good bench production from P.J. Washington. They just called up James Bouknight, who's an excellent scorer himself from the G League. He's been dominating in the G League, scoring almost 27 a game. So we want to talk about keys to the game?
Hold on. Before we get there, Hornets lost to the Sixers tonight. 106.
Lost them 2 games in a row.
110. As you mentioned, 31 for Gordon Hayward, 22 for Oubre, 20 for Miles Bridges. They still have a lot of firepower on this team without those 4 guys that I mentioned. But yeah, let's jump into your keys.
Just to piggyback off of that point, in the last 3 games for the Hornets, they're 1-2 in those games. But tonight, as you mentioned, Hayward 31, Bridges 20, Oubre 22. Their previous game, also against the Sixers, Oubre goes for 35. Bridges has 16, Hayward 12, but 16 for P.J. Washington off the bench. All 5 starters in double figures. And then their game before that against Atlanta on the road, Bridges 32 points, Oubre 28, and Hayward 18. So these guys are still scoring a ton of points. It's not going to be, the Kings just gave up 130 to the Magic.
These are all wing players, and the Kings don't have a lot of wing depth.
Yes.
So let's jump to your keys of the game.
Well, my first key is just to continue off of what we're saying here, in that even though these guys are all out, they still have to take this team seriously. The Kings should be taking every team seriously right now because they're still trying to work themselves into this Western Conference playoffs mix. But this is going to be a more difficult game than it was tonight, and they gave up a ton of points tonight because of guys like Bridges and Oubre, who are going to be tough matchups for the Kings because they don't have a ton of wing defenders. It's good to have Harrison Barnes back, but they don't have Mo Harkless, which means, Fox, Haliburton, maybe even Mitchell, they're going to get matched up onto these bigger guys at some point. My second key is share the ball. As I mentioned, the Hornets are dead last in the league in allowing assists per game. It's almost 27, I think, a game. So that means it's something that we've talked about a lot with the Kings. They are much better offensively when the ball is moving. Certainly De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is probably the only player that I feel comfortable just running complete ISO offense with and saying, go get us a bucket. The rest of them, they need to be running sets, moving the ball, not too much dribbling like we've seen sometimes from guys like Buddy Hield and even Tyrese Haliburton. Sometimes they can get a little too, and Davion Mitchell can all get a little too caught up in that. And then my last key is going to be guard the 3. The Hornets are number 2 in the league in 3-point percentage at 38% per game. LaMelo is shooting almost 40% from 3. He's not out there, but you still have guys that are shooting really, really, really well from 3. Kelly Oubre is one of those. Gordon Hayward is one of those. Even Miles Bridges. He has really extended his range and improved. So take him seriously, share the ball, and guard the 3.
And, the Kings guarding the 3 has been their Achilles heel for, I can't even count how many years now. So looking here at this game, according to ESPN, Charlotte has a 52% chance of winning this game. They're 14-13 on the season, 7-4 at home. The Kings are starting a 3-game road trip. Kings have been pretty good on the road, so it makes me feel a little bit better about that. Richaun Holmes, I think it's yet to I guess, we're yet to know exactly the extent of his eye injury and whether he'll be able to play on Friday. But I feel like that is a huge difference maker in this game. You look at the last game against Charlotte where the Kings put up 140 points. Richaun Holmes was a big part of that. Tyrese Haliburton was a big part of that. We've seen drop-offs from both of these guys when the other guy is not on the court, other than tonight. Tyrese found other guys to pass to. Tristan Thompson is getting involved. He's playing well. Marvin Bagley is back playing well. So it's gonna be a really exciting game. Do you want to make a prediction on this game?
Yeah, I'll make a prediction. I think the Kings are going to pull this out. They're playing really, really well right now, and they've been shooting the ball much, much better. It's going to help, again, to play a team that doesn't guard very well. And I think you could see, even though Richaun Holmes might not be there, they might have a little bit of an advantage with somebody like Tristan Thompson and Alex Len inside, especially not having Plumlee for the Hornets. They're not an especially huge team. So I think Haliburton and Fox stay hot, and I'm going to say they win this game 121 to 115.
What do you think we can expect from Buddy Hield in that game?
If I had the answer to that, I would be a very rich man. He is so hard to predict. Right now, I'm willing to say, or how I feel right now, he's going to come out and shoot 3 for 13 from 3. But who knows? I mean, all it takes is a few shots to go in, and the next thing you know, he's hitting 8 threes. So
there's no middle road for him. It's either good or bad.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, the next 3 games are away games: Hornets, Cavs, Raptors. Then the Kings return home to play the Wizards. If they're able to win these first 3 games, they'll be coming home at 500 against an interesting matchup against the Wizards, who are playing well beyond expectations. They're 15-11 this season. They seem to have turned the corner, and they seem to be a playoff team right now. But the Cavs aren't a team to sleep on either. They're 14-12.
They just beat the Bulls down tonight.
Yep. They're 14-12. You know,
And I'm telling you, handling Jared Allen and Evan Mobley inside, that's going to be a real problem for the Kings, both offensively and defensively.
And then they got the Raptors, who are 11-14, which looks good, but Siakam's back. Yep. He's playing well. They've been winning some games. So there's really no easy games coming up for the Kings. Tonight was supposed to be the easiest game, and they gave up 130 points in this game. They're not going to win any of these other games giving up 130 points, in my opinion. So they need to step it up on defense. They had all these extra days off to rest, to get some practice in, to work on the little things. I saw a little bit of that tonight, but I'm hoping Friday they'll be able to put it all together. They'll be competitive in these next few games, and that'll give us a lot more to talk about. Anything else you want to mention before we wrap up the show?
Happy to see the Kings win tonight. Happy to be back, sitting in this chair.
Catch us all Friday morning for the Royal Report. It's our weekly Kings recap show. We have a good time. You can also catch us after each of these next 4 games. We do a post game after every single one. We would love to see you all there. Thank you for joining us. See you all soon. And in the meantime, go Kings.